In the last class, we were talking about optics, right? So, in this lecture, we'll continue on this topic, optics. Okay, so what do you mean by optics? Optics is nothing but study of light, right? Study of light. Okay, that is fine. Okay, optics means study of light. What do you mean by light? I told you light is a form of energy. Okay, like heat, light is indeed a form of energy. Okay, so and we moved on to the properties of light. We have seen several properties on light. I told you light travels in a straight line, and what is the velocity of light in air, and you know what are some other properties of light. Okay, I told you about that. Okay, I told all about light. I discussed on light. After that, we moved on to another interesting content called as refraction, right? Refraction. I told you what is refraction, right? Consider you have a transparent surface like this. Okay, when you have a transparent surface like this, uh, if light ray falls on this surface, this is called a ray of light, right? Okay, what is a ray of light? Is nothing but the path in which the light travels. That is called as a ray of light. Okay, and if you group together a lot of rays, then you call that as a uh, you know you call that as a beam of light. Okay, so many rays make a beam. Okay, so that's the point I want to insist in this case. So after that, because of refraction, what it will do, it will just bend down. Okay, it will not follow the exact path. This is the exact path that light should follow, right? This is the exact path that light should follow, but it will not follow the exact path. Due to reflection, it will bend. Okay, it will be deviated. Okay, and that deviation is called as refraction. Okay, so refraction is nothing but a deviation. Okay, so deviation of light rays due to a surface. This surface is also known as a refracting surface. Okay, refracting surface. Okay, so because of that, the light ray gets deviated. You know about this, right? You are very clear about this. And I told you that let's recall some parameters which I have told you. Okay, so if light rays falls on a surface, then this ray is called as incident ray, right? Incident ray. Okay, and this angle, okay, I'm sorry, that's not angle. You have to draw your normal. This is called as normal. Okay, a line which is perpendicular to your refracting surface. Okay, a line which is perpendicular to your refracting surface is called a normal, and the angle between the incident ray and the normal, that angle is called as incident angle. Okay, angle between the incident ray and the normal line is called as the incident angle. Fine, I told you this. Okay, I just want to have a quick brush up on the contents. Okay, a review, a quick recap, whatever you call. So after this, I'll go slowly. Okay, don't worry. And so the next topic that we are going to see after refraction is, okay, so let's finish it off. So we'll have an incident ray, the normal, and you have something, the refracted ray or deviated ray. Okay, actually it will be straight. This is not the correct way to draw. It is actually straight but deviated. That's it. This is called as refracted ray or deviated ray. Okay, and the angle between this ray and the normal drawn to the refracting surface is called as angle of refraction, right? Angle of refraction. This is angle of incidence. So yeah, those are the parameters that I wish to tell in this case. Fine. Okay, if you see to it, then you got two laws of refraction, right? So first law states that the incident ray which we have seen now, the refracted ray, okay, which is the deviated ray, and the normal, okay, the normal that we have drawn. Okay, so the incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal drawn through the refracting surface, they all lie in the same plane. Okay, what do you mean by that? They all lie in the same plane. Okay, if you consider a floor, okay, if you consider your room floor, okay, consider your the floor of your room, okay, the floor of your room which you are sitting in now, and the floor is called as plane, okay. The floor is let's call the floor as plane, and you now assume that the incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal, they all lie in the floor, okay, they all lie in the same plane, okay, they all lying down on the floor, okay. Okay, fine. So that's the first law. Okay, law of refraction. That's very simple. The incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal to the refracting surface, they all lie in the same plane. That's the first law. Okay, and second law states that second law is also known as Snell's law. Okay, and states that Snell's law states that sine of angle of incidence. You know this is mathematical ratio sine of angle of incidence divided by sine of angle of refraction. So sine of angle of incidence to the sine of angle of refraction, they are equal to refractive indices. Fine, ratio of the refractive indices. You know this term, right? I've explained a lot about this term. This is called as mu. Okay, mu. Otherwise, it's called as refractive index. Okay, refractive index. I told you why this refractive index arises. This is because of the change in velocity when you approach two different medium, right? If you recall, this is your refracting surface. Then you got your light incident ray, then you got your deviated ray here. So this is called as a rarer medium, this is called as denser medium, let's assume, okay. And a rarer medium, say it is air, denser will say it is water, for example, okay, this is for an example. And you know that light travels very fastly in rarer medium, right? The speed is actually 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. This is the speed of light in rarer medium, okay. Imagine the speed, okay, in 1 second it will travel 3 lakh kilometers in 1 second. That is the exact interpretation of this value, okay. In 1 second it will travel 3 lakh speed, okay, 3 lakh kilometer, okay. In just 1 second it will travel 3 lakh kilometer in air, whereas in denser it will travel a little bit slower compared to this. So understand that light travels very fast only in air, whereas in some denser mediums it will travel somewhat slower compared to the rarer medium, which is your air, okay. In this case, which is your air, right? So keeping this in mind, velocity changes, right? So let this value be c1, okay. So this value be c1, or let me call it as c, okay. So c is nothing but the velocity value of light, the velocity of light in rarer medium. And since this is different, denser medium, the velocity is different, I'll call it as v, okay. So this ratio c to v, this ratio, if you take the ratio c to v, that is called as refractive index or mu, okay. That is called as refractive index or mu. I'm going a little bit faster because we have seen this topic already, right? So I'm just giving you a quick recap. So it would seem like I'm going faster because I'm actually going faster because I just want to give a quick recap on this topic, right? So let's go for the next topic. The next topic is called, so today's topic actually is called scattering of light, okay. Scattering of light, fine. So what do you mean by scattering of light, okay? Imagine our sky is blue, okay. You don't need to imagine, it's actually true, right? Our sky is blue in color, but how it is happening, okay? How the sky is blue in color? Could you think of the reason why the sky is blue in color? That's actually a sky blue color, right? If I could draw the color, wait a minute, okay. So so sky is actually is blue in color, right? Okay, sky is blue in color, that's perfectly fine, okay. But how it happens, okay? So how it happens, what is the reason behind it? It's a very good example for scattering, okay. Sky is blue in color, it's a very good example. And the clouds are white in color, that's another example, right? Clouds are white, sky is blue, okay. So they have a particular color, Okay, so sky means it's blue, clouds means they are white, and sometimes black also, right? Clouds, but they have a particular color. How it happens? That is because of scattering, and I'll explain you the phenomenon behind this scattering. Okay, so fine. And in order to refract light, we need a medium. Okay, we need a medium. Scattering is something related to refraction only. Okay, you know what is refraction? The bending of light rays, right? We have seen this before. Refract light, to in order to refract light, you need a medium. It can be anything, but it should be a transparent medium, but it can be anything. So you need a medium. That's the primary requirement to refract light. Okay, and you may be asking questions. Will medium alone can refract light? Definitely not. Okay, medium alone can't refract light, but one of the essential requirements would be medium. A medium. Okay, you know what is medium? It may be a solid medium, liquid medium, atom, molecule, whatever it is, but you need something to refract light, right? You know, empty space or free space or vacuum cannot refract light. Do you agree with me? Of course you will agree with me, right? Empty space or vacuum cannot refract light. Okay, so there should be a refracting surface, right? That then only light will get refracted, right? So here, if this is the refracting surface, light falls on and getting refracted, so this surface is must. Okay, I am referring to the surface as medium. Okay, I am referring this surface as medium. That's it. Fine. Medium means it can be solid, liquid, or atom or molecule, whatever it is. Fine. So okay, so consider this is sun. Okay, I'm going to explain the phenomenon of scattering now. So to explain that, let me assume this is my sun. Okay, which is the ultimate source of light energy, right? So this sun is the ultimate source of light energy. You will definitely agree with me, right? So this emits light. Okay, let's assume. Fine. Okay, so we have sunlight, and after that we have our atmosphere, right? Our Earth's atmosphere. Okay, sunlight, starts from sun, originates from the sun, but it ends at our atmosphere, right? Our Earth's atmosphere. So basically the communication between the Earth, sun, and the Earth, right? It's basically the communication between sun and Earth. Fine. So it starts from the light rays, starts from sun, and ends at Earth. I could say something like that. Fine, but I'm saying that like that. Okay, but it exactly not, starting and ending point and all. That's fine. And so what happens actually? So consider this is our Earth. This is our Earth. Okay, so sunlight starts from sun, originates from sun. It should go into the Earth. That's ours. Okay, that's ours. Fine. So in Earth we have something called as atmosphere, right? Okay, we have something called as atmosphere in our Earth. That's a very good atmosphere. Light should interact with our atmosphere. Do you agree? The light rays which are coming from the sun should interact with our atmosphere in order to get into the Earth. Fine. They must interact with our atmosphere. Okay, then what do you mean by atmosphere? Atmosphere, what do they compose of? Okay, what do they compose? They compose some gaseous molecules like H2O. First of all, it's nitrogen. Okay, not H2O, sorry, it's nitrogen. First, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, molecules like that. Okay, so it may be nitrogen molecule, oxygen molecule, carbon dioxide, so molecules like that. So we have atoms and molecules in our atmosphere. That's why it's called as atmosphere. Mainly nitrogen is there. I think it's above 70% we have nitrogen, then oxygen, then carbon dioxide. Okay, oxygen is very minimal, right? So now you have understood that atmosphere contains atoms and molecules. Then our light rays should interact with our atmosphere, right? Light rays should interact with our atmosphere, right? I mean the atoms and molecules which are present inside the atmosphere. So blindly I could say that my light rays or our light rays should interact with the atoms and molecules present in the atmosphere. That's my summary, right? So these are the light rays. In order to get into the Earth, they should interact with the atmosphere. Atmosphere in turn consists of atoms and molecules. So light rays should interact with the atoms and molecules or different gases. Okay, whatever I call N2 or O2, they are nothing but gases, right? So they light rays should interact with those gases. Fine. They must have interacted, right, whenever they come into earth. Okay, whenever the light rays come into earth, they must have interacted with those molecules, then only they will be entering, because our atmosphere is full of gases, full of molecules. Okay, there is no way that light can enter the earth without interacting with these molecules. They are like gateway to the earth. Okay, and I could say our earth doesn't exist without this atmosphere. Okay, it's composed of gases, it's composed of nitrogen. So naturally our light should interact with the molecules, right? So we have so what is interaction? Let's say uh, okay, let's consider the whole screen as earth. Okay, this whole screen as earth, and we have an atmosphere here. So the first atom, my light ray, say for an example, there is an atom here, my light ray interacts with this atom. Okay, let me take another color. So okay, so atom, light ray interacts. So we have a lot of atoms in the atmosphere, or molecules, whatever you call. But the idea is light rays interact with those atoms. Okay, and after interacting they get refracted in different possible direction. Okay, so these atoms form a medium. Okay, form a medium. I already told you that in order to refract light you need a medium, right? You need a medium. Okay, so in this case these atoms and molecules, they act as medium. Okay, they act as medium to refract light. Okay, they act as medium to refract light. Fine. So these rays, while interacting with our atoms and molecules which is present in the atmosphere, they get the light rays get refracted in different possible direction. It need not be one direction, in different possible direction, and this phenomenon is called as scattering of light. They get scattered. Okay, they get scattered. Okay, it's called a scattering of light. It's a very important phenomenon. Okay, scattering of light. Fine. So I hope you are clear with this idea, scattering of light. Fine. So what do you mean by scattering? So light rays coming from the sun, they interact with the atoms and molecules that are present in the atmosphere, due to which the light rays are deviated. Okay, deviated. So that's called as scattering of light. Fine. So in scattering we have two types of scattering. Okay, so in scattering, of course there are a lot of types, but okay, let me quickly draw a tree diagram to represent that. Okay, so first of all we have scattering. You know what is scattering now? The deviation of light rays in different directions by a particle, by an atom or a molecule. Find the deviation of light rays by an atom or molecule present in the atmosphere. Okay, scattering is first divided into two. One is elastic scattering, another one is inelastic scattering. Fine. So elastic and inelastic. Inelastic is elastic, that's it, only one type. Inelastic can be divided into four types. Okay, the first one is Rayleigh scattering. Because of Rayleigh scattering we have our sky is blue. You would have guessed how it happens. I'll explain you anyway. Next one is Mie scattering. Third one is Tyndall scattering. Fourth one is Raman scattering. Alright. So fourth one is Raman scattering. So these are the four types of scattering available under the category inelastic, and we have elastic scattering which doesn't have any types. Fine. So I'll explain what is elastic and inelastic. After that we'll go for these types. Okay. So first of all, what do you mean by elastic scattering? Okay, so whenever we say elastic in physics, we have something called as elastic collisions also. Whenever we say elastic, it means that energy is same. Okay, it abstractly means that the energy is same, but what energy, what kind of energy is that we have to analyze. But the word elastic says the energy is same. That's a hint. Okay, So in case of elastic scattering, you would have now observed that the energy is same. Okay, so energy is same. So how it is? Let's take. So we have some incident beam of light. Okay, so this is our light rays. We have a lot of molecules here in our atmosphere, and our light interacts with those molecules and get scattered. Okay, and get scattered in different direction, right? Actually it should be very straight. Ignore the floor diagram. Okay, fine. So then I call this light beam light as incident beam, right? You know, when you have a group of rays, you call those rays as beam, right? So I call this as incident beam because they are incident on my medium, right? You know this by refraction, they are incident on my medium. So I'll call this group of rays as incident beam. Okay, and after interacting with the medium, they are getting deviated. Fine, they are getting deviated by some effects. So that effect is called refraction. You know that they are getting deviated, and this set of rays are called as scattered beam because they are getting scattered, right? This is nothing but scattering. So they are called as scattered beam. Okay, so I think by the time you would have understood what is what is incident beam and what is scattered beam. Incident beam is something incident on the medium, and scattered beam is the output, the result. You could think like this. Okay, this is the okay, I think the diagram becomes very weird, right? So okay, so these are the medium particles. Okay, these are the exact machines like particles, and you are giving your input here, and you are taking your output there, right? So the input is called as incident rays, right? And the output is called as scattered beam or scattered rays. Okay, so this is incident beam, this is scattered beam. If both have same energy, okay, I again repeat, if both have same energy, if both incident beam and the scattered beam they have same energy, then I could call the type of scattering as elastic scattering. Okay, so I'll again once again I'll repeat this, and if you don't understand, feel free to go back and rewind and watch the video. Okay, if you don't understand, please rewind and watch the video. You can n number of times you can rewind, right? So if both the incident rays and the refracted rays, or incident beam and the refracted beam having the same energy, then we call that scattering as elastic scattering. So elastic scattering means, understand that the incident beam and the scattered beam, they have same energy. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so I hope elastic scattering might be clear to you. There is one more topic called as inelastic scattering. It's pretty obvious, right? It's pretty obvious. If elastic scattering means the energy of the incident beam and the scattered beam are same or one and the same. In inelastic scattering, the energy is different. It's just opposite to that, right? Energy is different. I mean, what do you mean by energy? Like, I mean the energy of the in other words, I could tell like this, right? Energy of incident beam is not equal to energy of scattered beam. Okay, energy of input is not equal to energy of output. In that case, I would call the scattering as inelastic scattering. Fine. Okay, I hope it's clear. Then I told you that under the inelastic scattering, I have 4 types of scattering, right? So the first scattering is Rayleigh scattering, right? First type of scattering is Rayleigh scattering. Fine. So okay, so I'll explain what is Rayleigh scattering. Hold on. Okay, the scattering, the scattering of sunlight by the atoms and molecules on the atmosphere, by the atoms or molecules of the atmosphere. This phenomenon is called as Rayleigh scattering. I told you, I already explained this. Okay, Rayleigh scattering means the scattering of sunlight, this is sunlight, right? The scattering of sunlight by the atoms and molecules in the atmosphere, right? This is in the atmosphere. I already explained this, right? I know I to explain scattering I only took this example. Okay, I took this example and explained the scattering. Okay, scattering means you have any particle. Okay, you have particle and you have incident light. That incident light falls on those particles and they get scattered. That's it. Fine. You have atoms or molecules, or in other words, you have particles. You have certain particles, atoms or molecules. You have incident light. You have a source of light which gives you incident light. So the light from the source, the incident light that is from the source, falls on those particles. They fall on those particles and light gets scattered. So this is the exact idea of scattering. Okay, but in Rayleigh scattering we have sunlight here, not normal light. We have sunlight here. Sun is the source of the light, so we have sunlight. So this is the incident beam. We have atoms and molecules from the atmosphere as the medium, atoms and molecules, fine. And we have our refracted beam, right? So this is Rayleigh scattering. By nature it happens, fine. It's something related to nature. And because of Rayleigh scattering you have blue color in your sky. Oh, let me take blue color. Okay, so I think this is something, this blue, right? So you have blue color in your sky because of Rayleigh scattering. Consider your sky is your atmosphere. Okay, everything is atmosphere. Consider sky is atmosphere. Then from we have sun out there. We have sun, and sunlight from sun falls on, they interact with the falls on the particles on the atmosphere, so that the light gets reflected. Okay, light gets refracted or scattered. Okay, the scattered light seems to be blue. Okay, so this light gets scattered everywhere so that you can see the blue color. Okay, and why it is always blue? Light consists of 7 colors, right? WebGR, right? Light consists of 7 color. Why it is always blue? Fine, you can see only blue in the sky, right? Of course you can see some other colors in some times, but mostly you can see blue in the sky, right? Blue is only visible, but light actually gets scattered into, splitted into 7 colors, right? Okay, so understand that you see some color like blue in the atmosphere or blue in the sky because of scattering of atoms and molecules, or in other words I could call scattering of light by atoms and molecules, fine. So because of that you see you know because of scattering of light by the atoms and molecules, you see blue color in the sky. You see blue color in the sky. But why blue color? Okay, why blue color? Okay, why not red? Why not green? Why sky is not? Because all are light only. Blue color is also light, red color is also light, green color is also light. But why are you seeing blue alone? Okay, that is explained by Rayleigh scattering law. Okay, so there is a law accompanying Rayleigh scattering. Okay, so the law states that the amount of scattering, the amount of scattering denoted by S, the amount of scattering, this is called as amount of scattering. Amount of scattering. Okay, what do you mean by amount of scattering? How much the light has been scattered by the molecule. Okay, how much? Okay, the light has been scattered by the molecule. Remember that word, how much. Okay, how much the light is scattered, that is called as amount of scattering. Okay, you can measurable, it's measurable, somewhat theoretically it's measurable, let's assume. So that's called as S. Okay, so by default this S is proportional to 1 by lambda of 4. Okay, lambda power 4, or the fourth power of wavelength. We call this as fourth power of wavelength. Fine. You know what is lambda, right? Lambda means wavelength, and we have seen this before, right? Lambda means wavelength. Okay, we have seen one beautiful expression, wavelength into frequency equals to velocity of light. Okay, we have seen this, right? Not only velocity of light, any velocity. Okay, any velocity equals to any velocity of any wave equals to wavelength of the wave into frequency of the wave, right? So we see this, we have seen this already. So here this relation will exist. Okay, what is the relation? S is inversely proportional to lambda of 4, lambda power 4, fourth power of the lambda. S means amount of scattering, lambda means wavelength. Okay, So in essential I could write amount of scattering is inversely proportional to fourth power of wavelength. Okay, then what could you understand by this relation? Okay, what could you understand by this relation? It's pretty straightforward, right? If wavelength increases if wavelength increases, then amount of scattering, the scattering of light is gonna be very very low, since they are inversely proportional. Okay, and even you are taking the fourth power of it, right? You are taking the fourth power of it, so it will be even more smaller, right? It will be even more I mean, this will be even more bigger, but 1 by the term will be even more smaller, right? 1 by the term will be even more smaller, so your amount of scattering is gonna be smaller, right? Because they are inversely proportional, then only you'll write like this, right? 1 by wavelength of 4. So what you could understand is the color, wavelength means that it's defined by colors. I mean, the colors are defined by wavelength. We have seen this in the previous class. If wavelength increases, the amount of scattering is going to decrease. Okay, and if wavelength decreases, the amount of scattering is going to increase. We can summarize like this: lower wavelengths scatter more. Okay, because lower wavelengths mean they will scatter more. Wavelength decreases, scattering increases, right? So lower wavelengths scatter more. So let me summarize like this: lower wavelengths scatter more. Okay, then higher wavelengths scatter less. Okay, it's so obvious, right? Higher wavelengths scatter less. Okay, this is something I wish to understand, right? Okay, feel free to pause the video and guess whether blue color is higher wavelength or lower wavelength. Feel free to pause the video and guess whether blue color is higher wavelength or lower wavelength. Okay, feel free to pause the video and guess, and give it a try. Okay, whether blue color is higher wavelength or lower wavelength. That's my question. Okay, I hope you already guessed that blue color is gonna be very low wavelength, that's why it's scattering more. Okay, blue color is a very low wavelength, that's why it's scattering more. Okay, that's why you are seeing blue in the sky. Okay, it has a very low wavelength, right? And what is the color splitting you have? It is WebGR, right? It is actually WebGR: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. This is the 7 colors of light, or I could say the white light consists of 7 colors, and it is given by this, right? Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. My question here is why you are seeing only blue in the sky, right? My question was why you are seeing only blue in the sky, right? That's my question. Why you are seeing only blue in the sky? This is because this the wavelength is gonna increase, right? I mean, violet has the least wavelength, or some wavelength, right? It when compared to red, I'll take another color. When compared to red, violet has least wavelength, red has the highest wavelength, right? Or in other words, I could say the wavelength increases in this fashion if you move along the series. Okay, the wavelength increases in this fashion if you move along the series. Okay, I could explain like this: indigo has more wavelength compared to violet, blue has more wavelength compared to indigo, green has more wavelength compared to blue, yellow has more wavelength compared to green, orange has more wavelength compared to yellow. Likewise, it goes on increasing. Okay, the wavelength goes on increasing. Then in this side, the colors on this side, they have lower wavelengths. Okay, whereas the colors on this side, they have higher wavelengths. Fine, they have higher wavelengths. And okay, it's pretty fine, right? It's okay, so they have lower wavelength and you have higher wavelength, right? Okay, that's perfect. Let's go for Rayleigh scattering law. Amount of scattering is inversely proportional to fourth power of the wavelength. Okay, fourth power of the wavelength. Fine. Then you can see that this set of colors have lower wavelength. Okay, this set of colors have lower wavelength. So if wavelength is low, then scattering is gonna increase. I told you that lower wavelength scatters more. Okay, so having that concept in mind, lower wavelength scatter more, right? Blue color will scatter more, right? Because they have lower wavelengths. Okay, violet, indigo, blue, they have lower wavelength. That's why you see blue in the sky. Okay, because they blue has a very low wavelength, the scattering will be more according to this law. So you see blue color in the sky, whereas red has very high wavelength. So if wavelength is high, then the scattering will decrease. Okay, the light will not get scattered, red light will not get scattered. Okay, because the wavelength is very high, you can see the wavelength is very high, so the scattering will decrease. You know, higher wavelength scattering, higher wavelength scatter less, right? So having that in mind, you can understand that you can't see red in the sky. I mean, very rarely. Okay, sky is filled with the blue only majority, because they have lower wavelength and they scatter more. That is the summary. Blue have lower wavelength, and blue has lower wavelength, and it will scatter more light, and that's why you see blue in the sky. That's called a Rayleigh scattering. Super, right? Okay, next one is called as my scattering. Okay, not my, it's my. Okay, or me, whatever you can call. My scattering. Okay, my scattering. So what does my scattering states? Okay, as far as my scattering is considered, uh, you have to consider about the diameter. Okay, let me take these are my incident rays, right? These are my incident rays, and they have a wavelength, right? They have a wavelength. Okay, so let me assume the wavelength as lambda. Okay, let me assume the wavelength of the incident ray as lambda. Fine. And we have particles here. We have particles, and other words, these gonna be forming a medium for our light to get scattered, okay. Whatever. Okay, medium for our light to get scattered. Fine. Okay, keeping this in mind, let me explain my scattering. So understand that the wavelength of the light is lambda. Okay, then this is called as this medium is called as scatterer. They are called as scatterer. Each particle are called as scatterer. Why they are called as scatterer? Because they scatter light. That's why they are called as scatterer. Okay, they scatter light. That's why they are called as scatterer. Okay, so because they scatter light, they called as scatterer. Okay, that's perfectly fine. And they have a particular diameter. Okay, they have a particular diameter. Okay, this is called as the diameter, right? This consider these are circles, and you have diameters. Okay, equal diameters. Okay, so this is called as d. Okay, and my scattering states that the diameter of the scatterer, I'll take another color. Yeah, this color. The diameter of the scatterer, which is d, the diameter of the scatterer, what do you mean by scatterer? Scatterer nothing but particles or atoms or molecules which will scatter light. Okay, so the diameter of the scatterer is always greater than or equal to the wavelength of the incident light. When this condition satisfies, then it is called as my scattering. I'll explain once again, or if you can rewind and watch the video. My scattering means this is our scattering particles, and you have diameter, right? For every scattering particle, that's nothing but a length. Okay, wavelength is indeed a length. Wavelength is also length. Diameter is also length. So you can compare that. If the diameter of the scatterer is very similar to the wavelength, or greater than or equal to, whatever you can call, greater than or equal to, or very similar to, whatever. Okay, greater than or equal to lambda, then that is called as my scattering. Okay, my scattering. Fine, super. And the my scattering is mostly caused by these particles, right? These are not just atoms and molecules, they are mainly dust particles. Okay, my scattering is mostly caused by dust particles, smoke, okay, gassy smokes, and water droplets. Fine, water droplets. My scattering is basically caused by this. Understand that this condition should be satisfied. What is this condition? I will just summarize this condition. The the diameter of the scatterer should be similar to or greater than or similar to the wavelength of the incident light. The diameter of the scatterer should be greater than or equal to the wavelength of the incident light. Then you call that scattering as my scattering. Okay, mostly caused by dust, smoke, and water droplets. Fine. Okay, let's see the next topic. The next topic is actually Tyndall scattering. Okay, in inelastic scattering, the next topic is actually this Tyndall scattering. Okay, Tyndall scattering or Tyndall scattering is nothing but scattering of light rays by the colloidal particles. Okay, scattering of light rays by the colloidal particles. Okay, or colloidal solution. You know what is colloidal solution, right? It's something that partially mixed up, right? Partially mixed up, very small substance. The best examples are milk, ice cream, then water, water means it's not sorry for the break. Water means not the normal water. Normal water is a true solution, is a pure solution. Muddy water. Okay, muddy water means something contaminated water, so that's a colloidal solution. Milk is a very good example for a colloidal solution. Okay, so and smoke is also a very good example for colloidal solution. Okay, I mean colloidal particles, right? So if you have colloidal solution in a bowl, say for an example, what does colloidal solution compose of? They compose of colloidal particles, right? They compose of colloidal particles, or they are composed of colloidal particles, right? So if light ray falls on these colloidal particles, they will get scattered, right? They will get scattered, and that kind of scattering is called as Tyndall scattering or Tyndall scattering. Okay, it may be Tyndall or Tyndall scattering, doesn't matter in what way you pronounce. What matters is what actually Tyndall scattering means. So what is Tyndall scattering? Tyndall scattering means the scattering of light rays by the colloidal particles, right? Super. Okay, and the last type of scattering we have is a Raman scattering. Okay, and this is something interesting because this is discovered by our very own renowned Indian scientist called as physicist called as Sir C.V. Raman. Okay, very proud moment for all Indians. So Raman scattering. Okay, so what do you mean by Raman scattering? Scattering of light. Okay, scattering of light. Okay, scattering of light with the particles, by the particles, or by the particles is very good word, right? Because scattering is done by the particles, right? So by the scattering of light by the particles of pure liquid. Okay, pure liquid, scattering of light by the particles of a pure liquid, always they lead to change in frequency or wavelength. They will always lead to change in frequency or wavelength. Okay, they always lead to change in frequency or wavelength. For example, this is my incident rays. Okay, these are my incident rays, and you have the pure liquid particles here. Okay, and after scattering by this particle, actually this diagram is wrong. Okay, I understand. Roughly I'll draw just to explain the concept, but roughly I'll draw the diagram, but this is not the exact diagram. Okay, after scattering they get scattered away. So this phenomenon is, consider this incident ray has a wavelength of lambda I and a frequency of lambda fi. Okay, so lambda I is incident wavelength and fi is incident frequency, right? After scattering, they will have different frequency or different wavelength. The frequency or wavelength will not be same. Okay, fine. So the incident ray has some wavelength and frequency. The incident ray has some wavelength and frequency, but the scattered ray will have some different wavelength or different frequency, and that is called as Raman scattering. Okay, change in wavelength or change in frequency. Okay, so what Raman concludes here, scattering of light, leads to change in wavelength or frequency. That's what the conclusion of Sir C.V. Raman. Fine, super. And how the change will be, and is there any are there any special names for that? Okay, fine. So we have some special names for that. Consider, I'll give you a tabulation so that you can understand that easily. Okay, so we have a term called as spectral lines. Okay, spectral lines are nothing but another representation of light only. Fine, spectrum. Okay, another representation of light only, rays only. So you don't confuse with the term spectral lines. This you will be exploring in the higher classes, not now. Okay, and let me go for the explanation. Okay, so consider this is a case where lambda I, or I could say Fi. Okay, Fi is my incident frequency. Okay, Fi is my incident frequency, let me assume, and Fs is my scattered frequency. Okay, and both are same light only, same rays, but this is before scattering and this is after scattering. What I mean to say is they will have different frequencies. Okay, same light only, but before scattering the frequency is something different, and after scattering the frequency is something different. In other words, Fi is not equal to Fs, right? They have different frequencies. Fine. So having this idea, let me assume that Fi is incident frequency and Fs is scattered frequency, just to explain the Raman effect. And you have one more term called as spectral lines. What are spectral lines? They are nothing but light rays. Okay, assume that. Okay, and the first case, let me assume there is no change in frequency. That will be special cases, right? Let me assume there is no change in frequency, so my scattered frequency equals to my incident frequency. Then those light rays whose scattered frequency is equal to the incident frequency, whose initial frequency before scattering is equal to the initial the final frequency after scattering. If they are equal, then we call those rays as Rayleigh lines. Okay, we call those spectral lines as Rayleigh lines. Okay, in Raman scattering. Second case would be the scattered frequency whose frequency is higher than the incident frequency. The frequency gets changed, definitely the frequency will get changed, except for Rayleigh lines, all the other frequency will get changed. Okay, let me assume that my incident frequency is lesser than the scattered frequency, or in other words I could say my output frequency, my final frequency is greater than the incident frequency. Okay, in this case I would call those lines as anti-Stokes lines. Okay, this is special names. Okay, anti-Stokes lines. Fine. And the third case would be where my incident frequency, or let me go for scattered frequency, right? Scattered frequency is lesser than my incident frequency, right? If scattered frequency is lesser than my incident frequency, then I call those lines as Stokes lines. Okay, Stokes lines. Fine. Okay, these are the three conditions. We have one more condition. If Fs and Fi are totally different, they are not at all closer to each other, they are totally different. Okay, they have they have different frequencies, they are totally different, then you call those lines as Raman lines. Okay, so these are the cases which you must remember with respect to Raman scattering. Okay, so understand that Raman scattering means the scattering of light will lead to change in frequency. Okay, wavelength or frequency both are same. Both are actually similar. So frequency is same, right? I mean frequency is different. Okay, so scattering leads to change in frequency. So how the change will be and how will you call those lines? If the final frequency is greater than the incident frequency, then you call those lines are anti-Stokes lines. If the scattered frequency is lesser than the incident frequency, then you call the lines as Stokes lines. If the scattered frequency is equal to the incident frequencies, then you call the line as Rayleigh lines. I mean the light rays, the group of light rays can be called as Rayleigh lines if the incident frequency and their final frequency are equal or one and the same. If they are two different frequencies, I mean they're totally different, they are not having any similarity, then you call those lines as Raman lines. Fine? Super, right? And together all these lines can be called as spectral lines, are nothing but another representation of light only. I told you that, right? So these are the types of scattering which I want to tell you. Fine. And understand one more thing I must tell you is to Raman scattering to happen. In order to Raman scattering to happen, you need monochromatic light. Okay, not white light. Okay, monochromatic light. What do you mean by monochromatic light? Name itself give you the answer. It's self-descriptive. The name is mono means something single, and chrome means color. Okay, so light which has single color, not the white light. Okay, white light has 7 colors, so you don't take that. In case of Raman scattering, we'll go for monochromatic light which has single color, not white light. Okay, monochromatic. Fine. This can be compared to your black and white TVs in the old times. They are mono, right? But we have color TVs now. But in olden days, we used to have black and white TVs, right? So those are monochromatic. Fine. They have single color, right? Super. And let's go for something called as lenses. Okay. And let's finish it off the lecture with this topic alone, lenses. Okay, I'll just give you an introduction about the lenses and I'll finish it off the lecture. Okay, and lenses, what do you mean by lenses? You would have definitely heard of lenses because you are wearing in your you are wearing those lenses in your eyes, right? So lenses are nothing but they are transparent medium. They are indeed a medium, right? In the medium to refraction to happen, right? They are transparent medium, optically transparent I could call. And how they look like? Either they will be having two spherical surfaces. Okay, they will be having two spherical surfaces, one spherical surface, another spherical surface. A lens might look like this, or one spherical surface is one plane. This is possible. Okay, one spherical surface is one plane. Okay, so this is the possibilities of having lenses, some of the possibilities. So these are called as lenses. Okay, and lenses will refract light. That's the important point I wish to insist. The difference between lenses and mirrors are, mirrors will reflect light whereas lenses would refract light. Okay, lenses will allow the light to pass through. Lenses will allow the light to pass through. That's why it's called as a refraction. Okay, I'll give you a real life example. You have your eyes here. Okay, you have your spectacles. Okay, your spectacle. Let me assume the spectacles made of lens. Okay, this is lens, and something that comes from far away, that's your light. Okay, the light falls on your lens and it gets reflected to your eye, right? That's how vision happens, right? So this must be a lens to allow light. To allow light, this must be a lens. Okay, this is basically a process of refraction, and you have defects also. I'll explain the defects later. So instead of lens, what if you have mirror? Okay, instead of lens, what if you have mirror? Okay, now let's consider this is my mirror. Okay, then what will happen? Light rays will get reflected. Okay, then you can't see anything because there is no light coming inside. Light rays are getting reflected. This is called as reflection, which is, I think we have not studied about this yet. Okay, So we mainly concerned about refraction. So let's consider this as a lens. Okay, super. So let's talk about the types of lenses. Lenses are basically classified into a lot of types. They have many types of lenses. The primary classification would be convex and concave. Okay, I'll explain the difference between concave and convex. And again, you have two more classifications. Maybe I could give. You have two more classifications. One is plano convex, another one is plano concave. Plano concave. Okay, super. So these are the types of lenses that you have. Super, right? So let me explain it one by one. After that, we'll finish it off the lecture. So I'm again saying that if you have any doubts, if you don't understand a particular topic clearly, please rewind and watch it as many number of times till you understand. Okay, this is very important. Okay, because optics is or something that is confusing, right? Okay, fine. And convex lens. Let's talk about convex lens first. Okay, and the convex lens is something which is bounded by two spherical surfaces. Okay, so you have one spherical surface here and you have another spherical surface here. Okay, why do you call this curve as spherical surface? Because they complete a sphere. Okay, they complete a sphere. If you want to complete it, you can complete it, but that's not necessary. You need just a hemisphere here. So two spherical surfaces. Okay, two spherical surfaces, and they are very thicker at the center. They are very thicker at the center, very thick at the center, and very thin at the outside region. Okay, I could draw like this. So I'll take convex. Wait a minute. I'll clearly give you the difference. I'll take convex and I'll draw concave here. Okay, so what did I tell about convex? Convex means they are very thin at the outside, and they are very thick at the center. Okay, they are very thick at the center. Okay, they are very thick. Okay, they are very thick at the center. Whereas as far as concave is considered, they are very thick at the outside and very thin at the center. They are very thin at the center. Right? Can you understand the difference? Right, by this diagram you would have understood the difference between concave and convex, right? Concave means thick at the outside edges and thin at the center, whereas uh, convex means wait a minute, thinner at the outside and thicker at the center. Thicker, right? And here outside thicker and inside center thinner. Okay, so this diagram would clearly explain you. I have intentionally reduced the thickness to give you a good idea. So this is happening, right? This is happening, and they have an inherent property. Okay, they have inherent property. So the property here is convex. The convex lens is has a property of converging the light. Okay, so if light rays comes from different points, different points, they would converge all the light rays at a one particular point. Okay, so convex lens is also called as converging lens. Okay, while concave lens is concerned, they will diverge the rays. Okay, so they are called as diverging lens. Okay, concave lenses are called as diverging lenses. Okay, fine. So converging and diverging are the two types of lenses that you have. Okay, in as far as this topic is concerned. Okay, and you have two more types of lenses, right? Plano convex, and you understood what is convex lens and concave lens. Convex lens is called as converging lens. Concave lens are called as diverging lens because it diverges light. What do you mean by converging and diverging? Converging means something that coming in to a single point, Diverging means something that comes out from a single point. Okay. Okay, thank you. Then moving on, we have two more topics called the plano convex lens. Okay, plano convex lens. So in plano convex lens, we have one lens to be. Before that, just for the sake of diagrams, I have drawn concave lens like that. The actual diagram of concave lens would look something like this. Okay. Okay, so convex lens would look like this. Okay, concave lens will look only like this. So just for the sake of diagram, I had like that. I drawn like that. Just forget about it. Just for you to understand those topics. Okay, convex means something like this, and concave is something like this. You just take the spherical surfaces. You have two spherical surfaces here, right? You just take that and put those outside. Okay, put those outside. Okay, put those outside and join this is called as concave. Okay, so convex and concave, you would have understood the difference. And now let's go for plano convex. Okay, plano convex means one side is a plane. You don't have two spherical surfaces, instead of one side is a plane. Okay, so this is the exact diagram of concave convex lens, whereas in one side is a plane and one side you have a spherical surface. This is called as plano convex lens, and it's also possible to have like this. Okay, this is also called as plano convex. And I mean, convex lens is this: instead of one spherical surface you have a plane. Okay, that's why it's called as plano convex lens. Okay, and plano concave, you would have understood that instead of one spherical surface you have a plane. Okay, you have a plane. So this would look something like this. Okay, actually this is one spherical surface and you have a plane surface here. This is called as plano concave lens. Okay, so you have to in order to summarize, I could draw my convex lens as like this. Convex lens is this, and concave lens is this. Okay, plano convex is something like this, and plano concave is something like this, right? So these are the types of lenses according to your syllabus, and there are a lot of lenses you have. Okay, so we'll discuss about the applications of lenses. Okay, these type of lenses, and how the refraction actually happens, and we'll also solve some problems in the next lecture. I hope this lecture would be very useful, and please watch this lecture again and again if you are beginner to optics. Okay, and this lecture is mainly concerned for 10th standard students. Okay, and thanks a lot. Okay, please watch it again and again so that you can clear your doubts. Okay, thanks a lot.